Welcome to another episode of the Filmosophers Movie Talk Show. I'm Chris Bush.
And I'm Dean Slider.
On this episode, Dean and I are going to pay homage to a great cinematic tradition, the MacGuffin. And what is a MacGuffin? A MacGuffin is an object, event, or character in a film or story that sets the plot in motion, but in itself may have no intrinsic meaning or importance to the audience. And I think that it was one of Alfred Hitchcock's screenwriters who first coined the phrase. And Hitchcock was the acknowledged king of the MacGuffin. But we want to just delve into this topic, Dean and I. And of course, if you're a film goer, you'll reflect on some of the famous MacGuffins might include the Falcon in Maltese Falcon, Marcellus Wallace's suitcase in Pulp Fiction, Rosebud could be considered a MacGuffin, the Papers of Transit in Casablanca. These are, items meaningful to the characters, which drive the story, but incidental, I think, to the interest of the audience. Would you say that's correct, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, what makes it a MacGuffin, it seems to me, is that it's crucially important to the characters, and it's important to the audience in that it makes the plot turn. But for us, for the audience, it could be anything.
Yeah, it could be.
Right. Now, the name comes from, and there's a couple of instances where Hitchcock was asked about this. Most famously, there's a wonderful book called Truffaut Hitchcock, where Francois Truffaut just interviewed Hitchcock for days and days about his entire career. And for the origin of it, Hitchcock told an old joke about two men who are on a tram, and one of them asks, what's that parcel you've got up there in the luggage rack? And he says, oh, that's a MacGuffin. He says, what's a MacGuffin? He says, well, a MacGuffin is an apparatus for trapping lions in the Scottish Highlands. The other one says, well, there are no lions in the Scottish Highlands. And he said, well, then that's no MacGuffin. And Hitchcock, after telling Truffaut that story, concludes, so it's nothing at all.
Yeah.
Right.
But
so it's like it's
yeah.
important nothing. It's the nothing that makes everything happen. It's the donut hole that defines the donut.
He employed them to illustrious effect over many, many films. And we could talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, and I think it's instructive that when you think back on some Hitchcock films, I had to look them up, because you remember the action. You remember Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint, climbing down Abraham Lincoln's nose on Mount Rushmore. But like, why are they doing that? What was that all about? The microfilm? What the hell was the microfilm? But that's the little cog that makes the whole plot machinery turn.
Yeah. So other famous Hitchcock MacGuffins, we could say. In
the 39 Steps, it's a tune. It's a sequence of notes that early in the film we hear someone plays those notes, just a street musician, and suddenly he's murdered. What? Why? And for those who haven't seen it, wonderful film. We'll stop right here. We won't make it too much of a spoiler, but those notes turn out to be important. I do think that the Marcellus Wallace's briefcase in Pulp Fiction is a great example, because when you think of all the craziness, all the wonderful stuff that happens in Pulp Fiction, and everyone's going after the briefcase, and when finally there's the scene where the briefcase is retrieved and it's opened and the camera is behind the open lid of the briefcase, so we don't see in, but we see the faces of the people, the characters peering in, and the kind of golden glow of whatever's inside there, and they look at it and they say, wow, it's so beautiful.
But we don't know what it is.
Yeah, but it's radiant nothing.
Yeah,
there it's luminous nothing.
Well, the Ark, I could say the Ark of the Covenant and Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Had the similar,
Absolutely.
played the similar role.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They could be going after a pearl. They could be going after a, and that makes it, that's easy when you're going to make a franchise, is keep cranking out Indiana Jones films and have them go after,
New
okay,
MacGuffins.
now it'll be a holy grail.
It was the Shankara stones in the Temple of Doom. It was, yeah.
Right. Right. It's almost like playing Mad Libs, just,
Yeah.
fill in and they're searching for the. So I think what we were just saying, in particular about the Marcellus Wallace's suitcase, it's radiant nothing, it's luminous nothing,
Mm.
and that kind of maybe brings us to the deeper philosophical implications of the MacGuffin. The moment you say radiant nothing, luminous nothing, that's Buddhist lingo. That's shunyata. That's the essential emptiness, the essential non-thingness, which is at the heart of all things. All the classic formulation comes from the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra. It says, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. And that so completely, breaks our brains open. We go, what? That then we start looking for an escape clause. So in the next line, it reiterates. It says, form is exactly emptiness. Emptiness is exactly form. The idea that all the forms, everything in the form is the whole universe of, okay, here's a form of a Dean, there's a form of a Chris, here's a form of a microphone and a computer. We live in a universe of forms, but that if we start breaking them down, looking for what is their essence, for instance, there's in one of the Buddhist sutras, there's a famous dialogue between the Buddha and this great king who comes up to the Vulture Peak, which I've been to, by the way, the scene where this is supposed to have happened. And the king and his whole entourage, he pulls up in his magnificent chariot to engage in dialogue with this wise holy man. He's heard about the Buddha, and he asks the Buddha to instruct me. What's the deal? What's what? And the Buddha says, well, you see that magnificent chariot of yours. If we take away one wheel, is it still a chariot? And the king says, yeah, it's now it's a kind of a broken chariot. It's a chariot without a wheel. Well, if we take away another wheel, is it still a chariot? Well, yeah. And then, the Buddha systematically deconstructs in this thought experiment of the chariot until, well, at what point does it stop being a chariot? And if we can't define that point, then where is the chariot? Where is the chariot in the wheel? Is it in the other wheel? Is it in the another example I heard Robert Thurman give once. He was giving a talk, he was sitting on a small table, and he said, so you look at this, you say, well, and there's a wooden table. So you look at this, you say, well, that's a table, right? But right now I'm sitting on it. For me, it's a chair. For a termite, it's lunch. Right? So the thingness, the tableness, the chairness, the chariotness, the deeper we look for it, the more we come up with emptiness. And also, of course, this is the experience in meditation when the world of forms goes away. Still, and we're left with the best definition I ever heard of this, actually, of the transcendent, of that which we sink into in meditation, was from our old teacher Maharishi. And Chris, we both heard Maharishi say a lot of things over and over and over again, but this is the thing I only heard him say once, in I think May of 1972 in the Teatro in Fuji, Italy, and he was trying to describe the transcendent. And finally, he just shook his head. He said, it's just nothing. But there's something very good about it. Right? So to me, that's the contents of Marcellus Wallace's briefcase. But now, right? It's radiant nothing.
Let's reflect for a moment, though, on the fact that when I think about it, a MacGuffin in a film is often, it's an object of desire. It's an object of intention. It's an object of need or requirement or obsession. And so it's that thing which,
Yes.
you know, you think of the Maltese Falcon and Bogart's line, it's the stuff dreams are made of. You know, you see how
Right.
the characters were driven to possess the thing.
And a couple of minutes earlier, the first time when the cops come in and they ask, well, what is that? He says, that's the little statuette that all this fuss was about.
Right.
Which is a wonderful kind of definition of the MacGuffin. It's the thing that all the fuss is about.
That all the fuss is about.
Right.
And
but you see, you're exactly right that's this object of intense desire, of crucial, urgent desire for the characters,
right.
but not for the viewers.
Right.
Right. And yet the viewers have to, for the film to be engaging, the viewers to a certain degree have to identify with the characters and with their desire. Right. And so this creates this two-level situation. This is in Walt Whitman in Song of Myself, where he's describing really the enlightened state. He says, both in and out of the game. Right. And this is really the whole movie going experience, is that we have to identify with the characters so that our heart pounds when the hero is in danger, and we sigh and smile, and you know, when the hero and the heroine kiss or whatever at the, you know, walk off into the sunset. So to a certain degree we're identified, and at the same time we're not identified. We're sitting back watching the whole thing from this place of non-involvement. So that's why we love watching movies, because watching movies to a certain degree emulates the enlightened state.
Beautiful. And this is actually a Filmosophers episode in itself, because thinking about how, I mean, from the beginning of cinema, the great saints and sages who were around even at the birth of cinema, Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi, they used the analogy of the cinema as a metaphor for detachment, for attachment, for witnessing, for the illusion of, you know, the illusory nature of the material world. So that's something that would be fun to delve into as well at another time, because that's a rich subject for exploration, I would say. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, but the MacGuffin, again, the great line at the end of the Maltese Falcon, where Bogey very, very slightly misquotes Shakespeare. Shakespeare says we are the stuff that dreams are made on. That would be confusing to a modern audience. So it's changed to made of.
And we'll forgive John Huston the literary oversight.
Yeah, right. But again, that really is a beautiful definition of the MacGuffin, because it's the stuff, it's the underlying substance that becomes the pretext for everyone's dreams, everyone's ambitions, everyone's desires, everyone's, you know, hopes for the future and fears about the future.
And maybe our audience can enjoy creating their own little list of MacGuffins, and, you know, consider where they find them and where they pop up, whether it's you know, the big W in Mad Men, Mad World, or the precious emerald and Romancing the Stone. I mean, there's
the cigarette lighter in Strangers on a Train.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, anyone who has not seen Strangers on a Train, as soon as you get done watching this, watch that. That is one of my very, very favorite Hitchcock films. It's just brilliant.
It's really good. Farley Granger and
Robert Walker.
All right.
Happy viewing, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining us on the Filmosophers Movie Talk Show. Please like and share this video, and remember to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on our newest episodes.